quick on something we talked about earlier, and you guys talking about just how challenging adapting the book is because so much of it is internal inside of Ender's head. There are some elements that are very specific to the book, like each chapter starts off with a conversation between at the battle school and the adults discussing Ender's progress through the school. Do elements like that manage to stay in the film? Can those things be adapted? These things that are very specific to the book.
Well, what I thought was great about Gavin's script was that it was a good mix of the two. So you do have elements that fans love, like monitoring the children very closely, monitoring their progress, having discussions about their psychological growth, how hard they're pushing them, whether or not they can show them empathy, because empathy might make them, slightly weak, and they're being trained for potentially a serious purpose after all the fun is over. So I thought the script had an incredible balance, and so some scenes are extremely faithful in their construction, and then the others are faithful in terms of what dramatically is taken from what was an internal life and sort of put into a scene. Some of the conflicts that are internal in the book can actually turn into dialogue, can turn into character interactions and characters coming at each other. And I mean, that's why I'm here. I just thought the script was great.
I think, picking up on what Bob said, is that one of the challenges when you're moving from a book to a film is exactly what Bob's saying, is that in a book, the author can tell you a lot about what a character is thinking. And in film, that is particularly difficult to do unless you have voiceover saying, I was thinking that. It's very tricky, because film is really a medium in which we judge character by two things, what they do and what they say. It's very hard to hear what they're thinking in their minds. And so, to your point about the way the book opens in certain chapters, those chapters don't actually tell you where that dialogue is taking place. It's kind of these disembodied voices. So in doing an adaptation, like, oh goodness me, it's Anderson speaking to Graff. Where are they? Book doesn't have to tell you. You're doing a movie, unless it's pitch black and you're just hearing the voices, you've got to put them somewhere, right? So this whole adaptation process is an exciting but nerve-wracking thing. And I'll just say this briefly. One of the ways I talk about is to say, try to imagine if I were to do a portrait right now of Bob and say, I got to show Bob. There are a number of ways of describing Bob. We could describe him in writing, we could take a photograph of him, or we could paint a painting of him. The question is not whether
Take it in writing.
Take it in writing. The question is not whether the painting of Bob looks like the photograph. The question is the painting capturing his spirit, or is the photograph capturing his spirit, or is the writing capturing his spirit? So I hope that what we've done in the film version of Ender's Game, we will never take away from the power of the book. The book is a great book and always will be. We have tried to make a great movie that looks at these same complex moral ideas, brings visual excitement to it, and puts it into a different medium in a tighter form. And if we can embrace that, I think you'll have a fantastic time. But it is impossible to do what you just described and take those opening scenes just as one example and directly translate them into another medium. That's the challenge, and it's both exciting and terrifying.
Right. But, we have one advantage, though. One advantage that the book does not have, and that is we have, starting with Asa, amazing actors.
Yes.
And we have actors who not only are great with the dialogue, they're actually great even without dialogue, and they can actually convey quite a bit, you'd be surprised, through their reactions to what they're seeing and what they're experiencing. And that's the one advantage that film has over a book, where we just have this amazing cast.